Captain. Before we step onto this movement and difference island, tell me, what does change make you feel when it means to become different, money returned after paying, and the act or result of making something different? Meaning 1. To become different or to make something different. Used when a person, thing, plan, or situation does not stay the same. Example, the wind changed suddenly and pushed the boat toward the rocks. Common use, change direction, change your mind, things change.
Wind change.
Meaning 2. Money returned after paying more than the cost. Used for the coins or notes someone gets back after buying something. Example, he checked his change before leaving the harbor shop. Common use, small change, exact change, keep the change.
Exact change.
Meaning 3. The act or result of becoming different. Used as a noun for a difference, shift, or new condition. Example, the sudden change in weather forced the crew to return early. Common use, change in weather, big change, change for the better.
Sudden change.
Change is one of the most important everyday words in English. It can be a verb meaning to become different or make something different. And it can be a noun meaning a difference, a shift, or the money returned after payment. Watch every shift with sharp eyes, Captain. Carry change for the moment when things stop being the same, for the coins returned after the price is paid, and for the difference that turns one path into another as we sail to the next island. Captain, before we step onto this shape and style island, tell me, what does curly make you feel when it means full of curls or rings, bent in soft round shapes rather than straight lines, and having a lively twisted style in hair, fabric, or natural form? Meaning 1. Full of curls or ring-like turns. Used especially for hair that forms small round twists instead of lying straight. Example, her curly hair moved in the sea wind as she stood on the dock. Common use, curly hair, curly fur, curly beard.
Curly hair.
Meaning 2. Bent in soft round shapes, not straight. Used for lines, leaves, edges, smoke, ribbons, or other things that twist or curve gently. Example, curly smoke rose from the stove into the cold morning air. Common use, curly line, curly leaf, curly smoke.
Curly smoke.
Meaning 3. Having a lively, twisted style or texture. Used more broadly for anything with a springy, looped, or decorative curled look. Example, the curly wool blanket looked warm and thick on the cabin chair. Common use, curly texture, curly wool, curly fabric edge.
Curly texture.
Curly usually describes hair, but it can also describe smoke, lines, leaves, wool, and many other things that bend into soft, rounded twists. The core idea's shape: something is not straight, but turned, looped, or ringed. Notice the twist, the curve, and the lively texture, Captain. Carry curly for the ringed shape that gives hair its spring, for the soft bending form that leaves straightness behind, and for the rich curled surface that adds character to what we touch and see as we sail to the next island. Captain, before we step onto this ending and judgment island, tell me, what does conclusion make you feel when it means the final part of something? A decision reached after thinking, and the result or message that comes out at the end of a discussion or process. Meaning 1. The final part or ending of something. Used for the last section of a speech, story, report, meeting, or event. Example: the conclusion of the harbor meeting came just before sunset. Common use: conclusion of the speech, conclusion of the event, final conclusion.
Conclusion reached.
Meaning 2. A decision or opinion reached after careful thought. Used when someone looks at facts, clues, or evidence and then arrives at a judgment. Example: from the broken rope and wet deck, she reached the conclusion that the crate had slipped in the night. Common use: reach a conclusion, draw a conclusion, logical conclusion.
Draw a conclusion.
Meaning 3. The final result, message, or outcome of a discussion, study, or process. Used for the last main idea or answer that comes out at the end. Example: the report's conclusion warned the crew about the winter route. Common use: clear conclusion, report conclusion, conclusion of the study.
Final conclusion.
Conclusion is closely related to conclude, but this word is the noun form. It often means the ending part of something, the judgment reached after thinking, or the final result that comes out of a process or discussion. End with clarity and think with discipline, Captain. Carry conclusion for the final part that closes a path, for the judgment formed from careful evidence, and for the lasting result that remains when all the thinking is done as we sail to the next island. Captain, before we step onto this decision and responsibility island, tell me, what does committee make you feel when it means a group chosen for a special task, a formal decision-making body, and a team that studies, discusses, and recommends action together? Meaning 1. A group of people chosen for a special task. Used for a small group formed to handle one duty, event, or responsibility. Example: the festival committee planned every detail of the harbor celebration. Common use: planning committee, safety committee, festival committee.
Festival committee. Festival committee.
Meaning 2. A formal body that discusses and makes decisions. Used for an official group in a school, company, council, or institution. Example: the harbor committee approved the new safety rules before winter. Common use, committee meeting, committee decision, committee member.
Committee decision.
Meaning 3, a team that studies an issue and recommends what should be done. Used when a group examines a problem carefully and then offers advice, findings, or a plan. Example, the review committee concluded that the old dock needed urgent repair. Common use, review committee, expert committee, committee report.
Committee review.
Sarah to she size Waitley Amistad those Finglesy and Kidders.
Committee is usually a noun for a group rather than one person. It often refers to a team created for a purpose, an official body that makes decisions, or review group that studies a matter and recommends action. Read the group, the duty, and the decision clearly, Captain. Carry committee for the team formed around one purpose, for the official body that speaks with organized authority, and for the careful group that studies a problem before guiding the next step as we sail to the next island. Captain, before we step onto this care and warning island, tell me, what does cautious make you feel when it means careful in order to avoid danger, slow and thoughtful before making a decision, and not too quick to trust, risk, or act? Meaning 1. Careful in order to avoid danger or mistakes. Used for a person who moves or acts with care because something may be risky. Example, she was cautious on the wet stones near the harbor wall. Common use, cautious step, cautious movement, be cautious.
Be cautious.
Meaning 2. Slow, thoughtful, and careful before making a decision. Used when someone does not rush to choose, approve, or judge something. Example, the council was cautious about opening the winter route too early. Common use, cautious decision, cautious approach, cautious reply.
Cautious approach.
Meaning 3. Not too quick to trust, risk, or act. Used for a person who stays guarded and careful in uncertain situations. Example, he gave a cautious answer when asked about the new harbor deal. Common use, cautious attitude, cautious about change, cautious with strangers.
Cautious response.
Cautious is closely connected to care, risk, and restraint. It often describes someone who avoids danger through careful movement, thoughtful judgment, or guarded behavior. The core idea is not fear, but wise control. Move with care when the ground is uncertain, Captain. Carry cautious for the steps that avoid harm, for the thinking that refuses to rush a decision, and for the guarded wisdom that does not trust too quickly when the waters are unclear as we sail to the next island.